Shabbat Shalom and welcome back here to our portion, our Shabbat gathering. Isn't it lovely this Shabbat?
Yeah.
Yes. And this gathering
Yeah, it's nice.
is nice.
Yeah.
You're always expecting for this time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think all of us were expecting for this time in order to gather ourselves, even if it is virtually,
Yeah.
and to enjoy a new portion in the book of Jeremiah. Enjoy a time together in this beautiful Shabbat. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter the weather. It doesn't matter, if it's too hot or it's too cold.
Yeah.
What it matters is that we are in Shabbat and we are here together in order to continue the study of the book of Jeremiah, to partake this time together in the word of YaHuWaH, and to partake this time together in the presence of our Elohim. So today we will continue with the next portion. That is chapter 19
And 20.
and 20. And we have titled this portion, you remember? No? Like a burning fire.
I like a burning fire. So for you, it's going to be like even like this warm fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
For those of you that are in the
In
cold,
the cold
like
side.
that burning fire inside of us, that's the word of YaHuWaH. But actually, why we decided to put it like this in this title, and we will see throughout the portion, is that we know that our Elohim is a consuming fire.
Yeah.
And consuming fire could be for destruction, but also could be for purification.
Yeah.
And he is the one bringing the fire in our hearts in order to serve him. And we, Lilian and myself, we have been speaking a lot about that, especially this morning. And I think this is something so important that all of us, we need to analyze about that type of fire, the fire that needs to be inside of us, that is going to keep us pushing forward to serve YaHuWaH in the purposes he has put in each one of our hearts. So this is something we need to think and we need to pray all the time, so that fire is always there. Maybe sometimes it's a little flame, but what we need to do is that little flame needs to become a huge fire in order to serve our YaHuWaH. So, just a small favor, let us know if everything looks good in terms of the video, the sound. So far, I have something monitoring here. It looks like everything looks good.
Yeah. So we're going to pray that it's continuing that way.
Yes, exactly. And maybe it was a configuration problem as well that I fixed it.
Okay.
But the most important feedback is the one that you can tell us. Everything great,
Okay,
looks and
perfect.
sound great. Okay,
Perfect,
thank you so much. So I think we are going to go straight forward to the portion, unless you want to share something, as you always have something to share. But if you have nothing to share, it's okay as well.
No, I was thinking when you were talking about our Ava being that consuming fire, that it was so nice when he took Israel out of Egypt, in the way that he was that fire providing the warmth that they need during the night. And he was also the cloud that was providing the shadow when they were experiences like the hot weather and things like that. So at this moment, some of you maybe are experiencing cold weather, and in this side of the creation we're experiencing the hot weather. But anyway, always we're going to count with the protection and love from our Abba, who is extending. Always he's providing what we need. And I was looking one of the message that I don't remember because I was trying to read, and it was like YaHuWaH is always going to know what is our personal need. He's going to know our struggle. He's going to know our work. So that is why we have to pray to him, just to have that conversation with him, and when we are letting him know through our hearts. So that is what I wanted to say. It was beautiful when I read it, and Yeah, that's true. He knows me better than anybody else, and he knows you better than anyone else, and to you too. So he is the one who is going to answer our prayers every time.
Good word. So I think, having said that, let's go and let's put this song together, and we will continue right away into the portion. Okay?
Yeah.
So here we go.
אתה אלוהינו, אור העולם, אותך רק נראה. אתה אש אוכלה, בוער בקרבנו, אנו השיר, לצליל קולך, אנו עמך, אתה אלוהינו, אור העולם, אותך רק נראה. כי מי לא יראך, מי לא יראך, לא בחיים, לא בכוח, אם ברוחך, שלח את רוחך, לא בחיים, לא בכוח, אם ברוחך, שלח את רוחך, לא בחיים, לא בכוח, אם ברוחך, שלח את רוחך, לא בחיים, לא בכוח, אם ברוחך, שלח את רוחך. מהחושך, לצאת אל האור, אל אהבתך. חסד על חסד, פאר תחת אפר, בוא אלינו, נקום לתחייה. קראת לנו לצאת מהחושך, לצאת אל האור, אל אהבתך. חסד על חסד, פאר תחת אפר, בוא אלינו, נקום לתחייה. מי לא יראך, מי לא יראך, לא בחיים, לא בכוח, כי ברוחך,
Beautiful song, right?
Yeah.
That's what we need to remember all the time. It's not by mind, not by power, it's by the Ruach of Elohim. So let's pray together. YaHuWaH, Elohim, Sebaot, we want to give thanks to you once again for this guiding, for this time that you are allowing us to partake, for this time that we are remembering you, remembering your word, this time when we seek with all our hearts your presence and your name. We want to invite you, YaHuWaH, as we always do, to be with us, that you can fill our hearts with your presence, with your Ruach, and you can guide us in everything we are going to do today. Thank you, Abba, because you allow us to have this gathering, because you have put in our hearts the desire to serve you. You have put in our hearts the desire to study your word, and you have put in our hearts the desire to keep your commandments and to enjoy your Shabbat. Thank you, YaHuWaH, because you have established this day as a sign between you and your people Israel. And we give thanks with all our heart to you, YaHuWaH, because through the offering of Yahushua, your Son, our King, we have the opportunity to become part of your people Israel. Thank you, because through him you have brought salvation to this world, because through him we can have eternal life. Help us, Abba, so we can follow his steps all the time, that we can put our eyes in him who is leading us in your ways, in your true way, YaHuWaH, so we can become like he is, walking as he walks, loving as he loves, because we know that he is like you, because you are Echad, and we want to be Echad with you. Thank you, Abba, because you are the one doing everything in us and for us. And you are giving us so much opportunities, YaHuWaH, to serve you, to be witnesses of your kingdom. And we are coming here, YaHuWaH, this time, asking you to teach us of your word, to guide us in your truth, asking you, YaHuWaH, that you can allow your Ruach to speak through us and to us. So you are the one teaching us your word. We pray for your people around the world, especially for those that are here, that you can keep us under your wings, that you can protect us, that you can provide to our needs, that we can find our hope and our trust in you, knowing that you are the source of everything, O YaHuWaH Sebaot. Heal the sick, O YaHuWaH. Provide for the ones that are in need. And if it's in our hands to support those of our brothers and sisters, give us the chance to do it, O YaHuWaH. Because that's what you are teaching us in your word. That we are a body. And we are the body of Mashiach. We are your people. And that's the way to put in practice the righteousness of your kingdom. Give us of your heart. Give us of your compassion, O YaHuWaH. And also give us of your righteousness, so we can be an image of you here on earth. We can be witnesses of you here on earth. Thank you, Abba, for listening always to our prayers and our voices. And we lift up our prayers, Abba, as an ascending offering to you, asking, O YaHuWaH, that you can hear our voices, that you can answer our prayers, that you can fill our hearts with your presence. Thank you, YaHuWaH, for everything you do for us. And we lift out this prayer to you, and we do it in the mighty name of your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, our King and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so let's go to the portion, chapter 19 of the book of Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu. And today you are going to
Start.
start.
Okay.
Okay?
Thus said YaHuWaH, go and get up potter's earthen jug, and take some of the elders of the people and some of the elders of the priest. Then you shall go out to the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is by the entry of the potsherd gate, and shall proclaim there the words that I speak to you. And I shall say, hear the word of YaHuWaH, and shall say, hear the word of YaHuWaH, O sovereigns of Yehuda and inhabitants of Jerusalem. Thus said YaHuWaH of hosts, the Elohim of Israel. See, I am bringing evil on this place, that makes the ears tingle of all who hears it. Because they have forsaken me, and have profaned this place, and have burned incense in it to other mighty ones, whom neither they, their fathers, nor the sovereigns of Yehuda have known. And they have filled this place with the blood of the innocents, and have built the high places of Baal, to burn the sons with fire for a sending offering to Baal, which I did not command or speak, nor did it come into my heart. I think
You want to keep it there?
Yeah, I want to keep it there. And we know that Hinnom means, I think that I have two translation.
There you have.
What?
There you have. No?
Yeah, sorry that I cannot. Hinnom, where is the he? Hinnom.
And what's the first translation you have? I can find it for you.
Lamentation.
Okay. Lamentation.
Yeah, it's lamentation.
Yes.
So it's lamentation. Yeah. And you were telling me that usually that valley is the one that they were putting all the.
There are certain evidences in the scripture, and I think it is exactly what Messiah was using, as a parable, figure of speech to reveal some truth about the lake of fire. That in Jerusalem, there are two big valleys. They're supposed to, in the past, they had three, I think. And one is the valley of Kidron. When you have this Gihon spring that is coming from all times, from the times of Abraham, even before that, and still, with water, water is coming and running water from there. And there's another big valley at the south of the city, and if you remember, because we have been there, it's a very impressive one. Actually, both of them are very impressive when you are at the top, close to the old city of Jerusalem today. And you can look down to the valley of Kidron. It's very impressive, the altitude. But when you go to the other place, it's also very, very, it's huge. It's a huge, and with a lot of stones. So it is understood that in that valley, in the valley of the son of Hinnom, in Hebrews, Gehinnom, is where they were burning the old trash. And I was looking at some information before this study, and it seems that the king Yoshiyahu, who was one of the kings, a righteous one, if you will remember, that he was somehow defiling the place of the valley of the son of Hinnom, of the idolatrous worship. Everything that we are reading here in this portion. And what I found is that it was Yoshiyahu, the one that he transformed this place as a place of desecration, a place of dung, a place of trash, to be burned all the time. So when Messiah was speaking about the hell, speaking about Gehenna, he was pointing to that place in order to for the people to see something and to understand what's going to be the final destination for those that are wrong and doesn't want to take the truth and the path of truth.
So it's going to be destruction. It's going to
Yes.
be, they're going to be consumed by that fire.
It is understood that the fire was always burning over there. So for sure at that times they were not having the same issues we have with trash in our days. They were having a different type of materials to be burned. But it is understood that this place was always burning, and I just can imagine, and just seeing in my mind the place. It's a huge valley with with fires. I think it was quite impressive to see it, and that's why Yahushua was saying, Gehenna, they will go to Gehenna, to that valley where they are going to be burned with the fire that is never extinguished. So, and I think it's so interesting when we see it here in this portion that, and I think maybe that's why also Messiah was using this example, because of everything that happened in that place. You were speaking here about in the verse 4, because they have forsaken me and have profaned this place. And then he was standing in the gate to the city that was looking at that valley. And it is believed in that time the walls of the city are not the same walls that we see today in Jerusalem. The walls that we see today in the old city of Jerusalem were built by the Ottoman Empire, and there's some ruins of the original wall of the city, and it's exactly close to the valley. And so he was standing, most probably very close, just meters away of the valley, giving this word, speaking this word in the ears of everybody. So you have profaned this place. How they profaned that place and forsaking YaHuWaH, because they were having altars and worship to Baal and other mighty ones. So idolatry. And also they have filled this place with the blood of innocents. And it is well known, though there is some disputes between scholars, that in that place they were slaughtering children. And they were offering children
Yeah, and it's mentioned
to Moloch. They were
in-
burning children to Moloch. And actually it is mentioned in the next one. I have built the high places of Baal to burn their sons with fire for ascending offerings to Baal. And this practice is well known that the Phoenicians, they were doing, and so on. So, and we know that everything began, if we go back to the story, and this is well written, and we studied this already in the book of Kings, Melachim, that Shlomo, when he deviated from the path of YaHuWaH because he was marrying women from the different peoples, different nations, and those women, they were changing the heart and deviating the heart of Shlomo. He was,
they were bringing their customs,
and he was building places of worship to
worship
their
those
martyr
that-
ones.
that-
And from the Phoenicians, from the Ammonites, and from every other places. So everything began in that moment, mainly. So I think fire plus idolatry, that was the two important things that Yahushua somehow was considering when he was using the example of Gehenna on the valley of the son of Hinnom, because everything that Israel did in that place, what that place became, and I think it's somehow it's a perfect picture just to understand what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah. And I was telling you that if it's so terrible to imagine that kind of scenario, fathers killing their babies or offering into that kind of sacrifices, how much more is, because that is even the first death, but how much more is for YaHuWaH to extrapolate this or to comparing this to what is happening with some parents that are not taking care about the eternal lives of their children. If they're not doing anything, so they're delivering them to some other idol, some other kind of worship. So also is going to be even worse. And sometimes it's something that we cannot see, so we are not experiencing that horror, but it's much worse that compared to even that this is something terrible. So imagine that you are walking and you are seeing a parent, I don't know, taking care of the child, or not taking care, taking the child to a sacrifice. So I don't know. I think that from the nature of our hearts, we have this feeling that we want to intervene in such a situation. So that parent can see that is something that is going to cause him a lot of pain, is going to distract that child. But it's much more when we think about the spiritual side, about the knowledge of our Abba. If some parents, they don't want to intervene when they said, no, I'm going to let my children believe in whatever they want, that when he's going to have, I don't know, 21 years old, he's going to decide. I don't want to influence in any way. No. On the contrary, what YaHuWaH want us as parents is that we can transfer that connection that we have with him to the children. That's why the honor your father and your mother is in the middle of the commandments, because is in the middle with his reign and with the earth. So it's like the parents are the representation somehow of the link that we have with our Father when we arrive to this world, and what we are going to learn, what we are going to receive. The first seed that we are going to have is from them. And if we are lucky enough, we are going to remember that, and we are going to have great example. And if it's unfortunately we couldn't have that, we have the responsibility to get something and then give what we have received to our children. So we cannot rely on the excuse, I didn't receive anything, I have bad parents. No, I think that YaHuWaH always give the possibility that we can break that, I don't know how to say it, when there is something that is not working. He's going to be the one who is going to provide a way to give a solution, like to throw a boat, I don't know, no boat, something that is going to save your life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there is we have repeated this in the past, but it's we cannot avoid it because it's a reality that there's nothing new under the sun. And we see how what the old Israel committed, that is written here, it has been happening again, maybe in different ways. And I know that we have been hearing about this and this discussion in other places, but it's always important to remember, everything that's going on with the abortions and the legalization of abortion is somehow the same thing that we see here, the blood of the innocents.
yeah.
I think you brought a really important point, because it's not only physical. I think maybe we can be sacrificing our children to other mighty ones spiritually, by not teaching them the way, by not guiding them on what they have to do, by not showing them what the world is really about and what the kingdom of YaHuWaH is really about. So, and we have been talking about this, is that what is another mighty one? Another mighty one in these times is something that it will push us to forsake YaHuWaH. That is going to replace the place that belongs to YaHuWaH within us, in our hearts, with something else. And this is so connected to what we were talking this morning, is that we need to remember that He is our treasure. And it is written where our treasure is where our hearts will be. And we need to teach this to our children. Because if not, maybe we are committing spiritually shedding the blood of innocence. Or burning our sons in the fire. Because maybe it's not going to be the fire, the physical fire that they were having at that time. It's going to be the lake of fire later on. And as you said, it's our responsibility to guide them. Later on, when they are mature enough, they will make their own decisions. And that's why the word is so clear, is that if we instruct and teach the children on the way,
they're going to remember.
They are going to remember, and they are going to continue in the way when they are adults. So, is what is happening in our days in the physical, but also what is happening in our days in the spiritual. And we need to be brave enough to condemn those kind of things. We cannot remain silent. And we see the perfect example here in Jeremiah, and I think we will see it even more in the next chapter, that we need to speak up. We need to, when we see something that is wrong, we need to speak up. For sure, we need to wait for the guidance of YaHuWaH through His Ruach, because this, what we see here in this chapter, that Jeremiah didn't speak because he wanted to do it. He spoke because he was guided and pushed somehow, led by the Ruach of Elohim. And what he spoke was the word of YaHuWaH, not his own words. So when we are before a situation that we see that wrong is happening, and if we feel the lead of the Ruach of Elohim to speak, we need to speak the words of YaHuWaH, not our words. And we need to speak up, and we need to speak up in compassion, in righteousness, in truth, being strong and courageous, because sometimes speaking about these things is not easy, especially with everybody is against you. But we are being commanded to bring light into darkness. How we are going to bring light in the midst of darkness if we are remaining ourselves quiet?
We're silent. Okay, I'm going to continue.
A few things you mentioned to me earlier today. I think it's important to say it. First, if we remember in the chapter 18, YaHuWaH commanded Jeremiah to go to the house of the potter. And he gave an example about that as the potter is, destroying a vessel because it came
defectors maybe
in a wrong way, and he made it again. He was comparing the house of Yehuda and Israel with that. Now he's using the continuation. He's saying, okay, take a job from the potter's house to give another example.
And also interesting the butcher gate, that is when you have like a piece of something that was was broken. So I was imagining that there is maybe a place that where all that kind of garbage, I don't know if it's garbage or something, or residues are going to be gathered together. And then I was comparing that also we are vessels, so we could be broken. As a piece that maybe had some value, but when it's broken, it's not going to fulfill its purpose. So we have to avoid that situation. But there is only one who can restore everything.
Even though that he's saying something different, and we will see it.
Yeah.
But we know that he has
But
a promise, and
yeah.
later on we know what his plan and what he's going to do in terms of restoration, and that's such a beautiful picture of resurrection. That even though that he's saying here that there's something that is an earthen vessel, a broken one, is not to be restored, he will do it anyways.
Yeah, and when you think about a piece that is broken, that today we were discussing, today people are studying those things just to know how people used to live in ancient time and things like that. But maybe today when we are seeing somebody who is broken, who is having issue, maybe we can also learn from that.
Yeah.
We can learn what was in the why that person maybe arrived to that situation, or if it's our case, why we are in that situation, what is happening, what we have to change, and we can go to the root cause of that situation. So I think that is also interesting that the location is not just a coincidence.
Absolutely
It's more than that.
Yep.
So everything that he is mentioning here. Okay, and I'm going to continue. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares YaHuWaH, that this place shall not more be called Tophet, or the valley of the sons of Hinnom. And Tophet, sorry, give me a second, is place of fire. So, like a chimney, I don't know how to say that. But rather the valley of slaughter. And I shall pour out the counsel of Yehuda and Jerusalem in this place. And I shall make them fall by the sword before their enemies, and by the hands of those who seek their lives. And I shall give their corpses as meat for the birds of the heavens and for the beasts of the earth. And I shall make this city a ruin and a hissing. Everyone who passes by, it is appalled, and hisses because of all its plagues. And I shall make them to eat their flesh, the flesh of their sons, and the flesh of their daughters, and eat one another's flesh, in the siege and in the distress with which their enemies and those who seek their lives distress them. I was thinking about that situation. We have known in history that this is something that really happened in some cases. But also if you can compare that not only to consume the flesh of somebody in the physical, but also maybe is like when people are not allowing the other person to have the food, the nutrients that they deserve. So when you are stealing from them also, so it could be also that you are taking and you are taking the food, or you are using them as your food. And sometimes we can see that also, that some people are having from that life, instead of seeking YaHuWaH, they are getting things from, I don't know, the whole world is what they are. I cannot express what I have in my brain. Maybe it's for a reason. So, but it's like putting something else in the place of YaHuWaH.
I think it's also so relevant what is written here to the end times. And I think it is the second or the third time we see something very similar. And we most probably was in this same book. That is so connected to what is written in the book of Revelation about what's going to happen in the last war, in the last of the last, is in Harmegido. Is when the Malachim, the messenger, is inviting the birds of heaven in order to eat the flesh of kings. And I think it's relevant because, again, what we said, the Messiah is using this figure of a Gehenna in order to teach about the lake of fire. And this is exactly what's going to happen. YaHuWaH is going to consume at the end, and also in that moment, those that are destroying the earth. And I think what you said is interesting as well, about the nutrients. Because it's like though we can see this happened in the physical, you remember what is written in one of the prophets is that he's sending a hunger, and not a physical one.
Yeah.
It's a hunger for his word.
Yeah.
And they are going to seek for his word that they are not going to be able to find it. So this could be also applicable somehow, is the lack of nutrients, meaning that the lack of nutrients, spiritual nutrients, real food. In the same way that we are facing in our days all this issue with physical food, that they are not, most of them are not real food and not bringing all the nutrients that our bodies needs. We see the same happening in the spiritual, that the nutrients our spirit needs in order to keep growing and keep it up are not there, are not everywhere. Most of the nutrients or the food that is out there, it's not necessarily the food we need for our spirits. And where we're going to find the nutrients is so easy. That's why we need to do it by ourselves. It's in His Word. Allowing the Ruach of YaHuWaH to guide us and to teach us. You know, it is written in the Brit Hadashah, and this is something that I always remember, and all of us, we should remember, is that we have no teacher, no rabbi, beyond Messiah. YaHuWaH is the one who is teaching us.
Yeah.
YaHuWaH is the one that He sent the Ruach HaKodesh in order to guide us in all truth. So it's okay, it's good that we need to listen to everything, even to the study.
But
We are all growing together, but we need
we
to.
need to discern and study, put always the word to test about what other people are trying to express to you, so you can have what is really the meaning that YaHuWaH is trying to tell you. Yeah.
So, you know, Messiah was always doing this comparison between the physical and the spiritual, using the physical examples in order to teach spiritual truth. And, you know, when we're babies, our parents, usually our moms, are the ones that needs to spoon feed us, because we are unable to eat everything or to eat by ourselves. But when we grow, we began using, you know, the spoon, the fork, the knife to
continue
you know, eating, to put food in our bodies. So now as an adult, if we're hungry, we go grab some food and eat it. Nobody else is doing it for us, unless we are ill and we need help. Yes, but those are exceptions. So in the spiritual, it's exactly the same. When we are the children, and I think Paul is speak about this, we are unable to eat meat. We need milk, because if we put a piece of steak in our mouth and we are just a baby, we are going to die.
Yeah, we're going to choke.
Yes. But when we are the grown up, it's our responsibility to put food in our mouth. So we need to read the source of truth. We need to find the truth here and the Ruach to guide us, and to listen to everything, but discerning, as you said.
Yeah, I found something when you were saying it is the mother who was providing all the food. And if we think about a baby who has just born, at the beginning it's going to be even the food that is running from her own body. So it's something from the closest until that individual is going to be able to feed by themselves. So at the beginning is the own milk of the mother by breastfeeding. So then she's going to replace that by the external food that he's going to be able to have, and then the person is going to have it by his own. So it's like a kind of separation. It's a kind of learning, but also being more sustainable. That is going to depend, at one point, is going to depend on you.
And
So
you know,
and it's like when we were talking about that the initial fire, the initial oil, the sacred oil, the first one is coming from YaHuWaH. Is like a gift. He's giving you everything that you need, but then you need to do your own work. You need to work for that oil.
and he has an expectation that we should do it.
Yeah,
He show us
Yeah, how
the
to
way and what is going to be the result by having it. And now he's expecting, come on, you are mature enough now.
Yeah.
Is your role, is your
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Or you want to be baby all the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And that's important. Again, comparing the physical with the spiritual. Both of them are going together.
And when we started this chapter, what it called my attention, and I forgot to mention that, it says, take some of the elders of the people and some of the elders of the priests. So this is how he's using like the physical and the spiritual. Like, okay, this is how you live, like by the social things, but also from the spiritual side. So you have to take care about the two sides, how you're going to apply this.
And you know, there is another aspect of what you said, the important role of Jerusalem as a mother. And we have been speaking about that, and you said something really interesting, because you know, the first food that the mother is providing is by the breastfeeding, is her milk,
Yeah.
and then is replacing from external sources of food. And that's why, you know, I think YaHuWaH is always speaking about Jerusalem in very hard terms, as we have been reading in this book. Because if we see Jerusalem as a mother, Jerusalem had the responsibility to provide the food and the nutrients to her children, the people of Israel, the two houses. But she didn't.
It's like she has forgotten his children.
And we can ask ourselves, okay, what is the food? And the answer is very simple. The temple was there. Who was in charge of the temple? The priests. And the priests were in charge of what in the temple? Of the charge of the temple, of the service of YaHuWaH, of the Torah, to teach the people the Torah and the commandments and the right rulings of the kingdom. So when YaHuWaH said that the Jerusalem went astray and forgot him, speaking about the priests, the rulers, the kings and the priests, that they were not guiding the people in the right way. They were not providing the milk. And what's the milk? Is the Torah and the word of YaHuWaH. That it could be milk, but also it could be more food, more solid food. So I think once again, looking in the natural, we're able to understand the spiritual. And that's why what I want to say, just to finish the statement here, we need to take the responsibility now that we are mature enough, because none of us is baby, unless there's somebody here that is listening to this video that just began the walk in the way of YaHuWaH recently, last year, 2 years ago, and so on. Maybe we find ourselves not mature enough in certain areas. That's going to happen all life.
Yeah, always we're learning. Yeah.
Exactly. But if we already are in the way of YaHuWaH for many years,
we need to grow.
We are adults. We need to take responsibilities to put food in our mouths, and the right food, to put food in these temples, the physical and the spiritual food.
Yeah, and if YaHuWaH gave us a list about the animals that we can have and those that we don't have to consider, is even the same with everything in our lives. That's why he has been teaching us about what is sin, what is the things that are going to cause us damage. So he loves us, and that's why he is teaching us how to proper feed our bodies and also our ruach. So that is
When we have doubts or questions, of all the spiritual, let's take a look in the natural.
Yeah.
Let's analyze the natural in the way that YaHuWaH was doing, in the way that YaHuWaH is doing all the time in all this and his word, to understand how it works in the spiritual. And we will find so many truths, and the Ruach will guide us in the process.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to continue
Yep.
in the
Go
10th.
ahead.
And you shall break the yoke before the eyes of the men who go with you. So,
Let me say something
okay,
before you continue. Sorry.
Yeah,
Everybody loves babies, right?
yeah. It's something that costs something.
What happened when you see a baby?
I don't know. It's like awakes every sentiments of goodness and love and compassion, and I don't know. You want to I don't know.
So for you, for all of you in the chat, what happened when you see a small baby?
You know that they are fragile. You want to take care of them.
Yes, but it's something when you see a baby. It's something natural that's happening within you
And
that
gives you joy.
joy.
I don't know.
Exactly. You immediately begin to smile.
Yeah.
This is a natural thing.
Yeah.
And this is what Shannon said. Joy.
Mm.
And you want to touch. You want to make them laugh. You want to teach things and so on. Why I'm saying this? Because we have a baby here,
Yeah.
a spiritual baby.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it in the good sense. It's Kadri. She said that it's 4 months ago.
Oh, yeah, you're a baby.
Yes.
and yeah.
And again, we are using the natural to understand the spiritual. If this is happening to us in the natural, it's also happening to us in the spiritual. And in the same way that we have joy in our hearts with the babies, physical babies,
Yeah.
also we have joy in our hearts when we see
Yeah.
a person that just began the walk in the way of YaHuWaH.
Yeah.
And that's why, it is written, even the messengers feel joy when
Yeah. When a new born is
Yes.
there, when somebody has born to this new life. Yeah, that's true.
And in the same way that we look forward to play with the babies, to teach the babies and so on, we need to do exactly the same in the spiritual. So it's a beautiful thing to have you here. And I think this family is with the joy in the heart to with the same reaction, to
And at one moment, you, Kadri, are going
To
to be somebody who is going to be guiding others, new babies, because this is something that is eternal life. That what you have received at one point, you are going to share with somebody else who is going to be even younger than you, and that is happening every day. So it's something beautiful.
absolutely. So let's move on.
Okay, and you shall break the yoke before the eyes of the men who go with you, and shall say to them, Thus said YaHuWaH of hosts, or YaHuWaH Sebaot, even so, I break this people and this city, as one breaks a potter's vessel, which one is unable to repair again. And let them bury them in Tophet till there is no place to bury. So everything is going to be destruction. That is what he is going to do if we are far from him, if we are worshiping other idols, if our hearts are placed in the wrong place. This is
And this is the part that we were speaking earlier. As one breaks a potter's vessel,
Yeah.
which one is unable to repair again?
yeah.
And I remember this video I put together
Yeah.
some time ago about the
This
brokenness,
dish,
I
yeah.
think was the title. And this Japanese technique in order to
Repair that.
repair with gold.
Yeah,
And it's so, the end product is so beautiful, even it looks
like a piece
more
of,
beautiful
piece
than
of art.
and that before the original. And that's why I think even though that YaHuWaH is declaring here that a potter's vessel is unable to be repaired again,
But he can do it.
he can do it, and he will do it through the transformations of our bodies, through resurrection when we talk about the physical.
The transformation of our minds.
Yes, the transformation of our minds, and also the transformation of our hearts.
Yeah,
A heart of stone to become a heart of flesh.
yeah,
And if you remember this morning, we were talking about this, about the habits. And how wonderful! And I think all of us here we have been gone through this through this miracle, I think it's a miracle that we cannot call it differently. When we began this walk, something changed within us. It's something, I don't know, it is so difficult to describe or to explain. Is that it's a transformation of the hearts and the minds. So, it's like everything from the past. It doesn't matter. This is what it matters. This is what I want. It's a invisible force that was within us, showing us the way forward, and showing us the truth that quitting all behaviors, it was almost instantaneously. And in my times in the church, when I was a young man, I remember the testimonies of people describing exactly the same. People that were so deep in the alcoholism, thank you, or the other types of issues that when they decided to give their lives to Elohim, something changed within them. And that's the work of the Ruach of Elohim. And I think, again, in some way or the other, all of us, we have gone through this miracle. And that's, for me, is a reparation. He's repairing us. Now, as we talked this morning, it's up to us to keep that reparation, not to be broken again. Because we can throw it away and be broken once again. And repairing those pieces is going to be even more difficult.
Maybe not even possible. So this is what I shall do to this place, declares YaHuWaH, and to its inhabitants, so as to make this city like Tophet. And the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the sovereigns of Yehuda shall be as unclean as the place of Tophet, because of all the houses on whose roofs they have burned incense to all the hosts of the heavens, and pour out drink offerings to other mighty ones. And then Yirmiyahu returned from Tophet, where YaHuWaH had sent him to prophesy. He stood in the courtyard of the house of YaHuWaH and said to all the people, Thus said YaHuWaH of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, I am bringing on this city and on all her towns all the evil that I have pronounced against it, because they have stiffened their necks so as not to hear my words.
How often we do the same?
Being rebellious.
Yes. Trying to hear our voices or the voices of somebody else and not his voice. His voice and not his words.
And how we are going to hear his voice if we are not looking for him, if we are not asking him, please, Father, speak to me, tell me what I need to do. I remember always when he was talking about David, that David was a man according to his own heart. And what called my attention was that David was asking him almost everything. And the only time he didn't ask him his counsel is when he failed. But in every opportunity that he was asking advice from YaHuWaH, YaHuWaH was answering him and was delivering him from the enemies, or was giving him victory above anything that he needed. So that should be the way that we should address our life. And we can remember also Mashiach. Mashiach was in the most difficult moments before his sacrifice for our debts, our sins. And at that moment he was praying. And he was alone with YaHuWaH. He was talking with him, and I'm sure that he was expressing. And when he said, please, if it's your will, help me that this cup is going to pass, but it's not going to be my will, it's going to be yours. he was attentive. He was receiving everything that YaHuWaH wanted from him, but he was looking for him, and what we need to do.
So last thing I can mention here in this portion is in the verse 13. It says, he gave all this word through Jeremiah about the Tophet, about the valley of the son of Hinnom, about Gehenna, and about all the uncleanness that was there, spiritual and physical uncleanness. And now he's saying that the same thing is going to happen in the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the sovereign. He says, and the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the sovereigns of Yehuda shall be as unclean as the place of Tophet. And
he says, because.
And the reason, because of all the houses on whose roofs they have burned incense to all the hosts of the heavens and poured out drink offering to other mighty ones. So if I want to summarize the reason that this uncleanness is going to come to the houses because of idolatry.
What they did on the roof.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So, it's a kind of, again, as a metaphor. We know that our bodies are a temple. It's
and
a house.
It's a house. Yeah.
So if we look this body as a house, what should be the roof? That's the natural roof. And every time that we think, when we focus in our thoughts, usually we focus here in our heads.
Yeah.
I think all of us are feeling exactly the same. Is that our thoughts, and when we focus, we feel everything here. Though I can tell you, I think it's more than here. It's everywhere else. But we feel it here.
And we have almost 99% of our senses, they are here.
Yes.
Because we have the vision, the hearing, the smelling, the eating.
Yeah.
So everything is coming through here. And that's a reason why it's here and we don't have the mouth down. I don't know. Yeah.
True. So if we can think that this is the top or the roof of our houses, and we analyze this to the light of what is written here, we can become unclean. This house can become unclean because of what's going on here.
Yeah.
What is going on in our roof? If we are burning incense to the host of the heavens, or pouring out drinks, offerings to other mighty ones. And again, let's understand what we said, what another mighty one means. Maybe our attention, our focus, our thoughts are in something totally different than the thoughts of the kingdom and the thoughts of YaHuWaH. Could it be maybe I'm making this house unclean because I'm not changing or transforming my mind and allowing the Ruach of Elohim to transform my thoughts by the renewing of our minds? This is something that we need to analyze, and the only ones that can do that is us individually, by the guidance of the Ruach of Elohim. But this passage particularly, I think, is so relevant, and we always like to do this type of analysis, because I do believe that the word of YaHuWaH is applicable in different layers, like an onion.
Yeah.
In the individual level, first, in the body of the people of YaHuWaH, second, and then the entire world. You remember I was doing a drawing of that with circles in Jimmy's and Maria Isabel's home. And he's always looking like that, because the body of Mashiach is somehow being structured with many individuals. So that's why it's the individual, then the body, that we are joined together, Echad, and then the entire world. And if we look at it in that way, the word of YaHuWaH is applicable in every sense, and that's why this one, if we look at it in the individual aspect, it's so important and relevant, because the first thing that needs to happen is it's like the one in the book, actually, now that I remember. That's interesting. It's from the inner to the outer, not in the other way around. needs to come from within, and then you will be able to see it in the physical. So the first thing we need to do, and it's so important, is that we need to analyze our own lives. If this is the roof in this analogy, let's clean the roof. Let's change the thoughts. Let's renew the mind.
Yeah.
And we know that the one doing this is the Ruach of Elohim. So the only thing that we need to do is to participate and allow this. It's an active participation. He's not going to do everything if we don't participate and we don't allow him to do it. We need to participate actively in the renewing of our minds. And that's cleansing all this place. And if we do that, all the rest is going to become clean. There's another aspect with the heart, but it's not for now.
Yeah. I was thinking, because when we were reading about the babies, the sacrifices of the babies, then remember, you were mentioning about what YaHuWaH was also telling us, that we should enter like babies. Remember that?
Yes, maybe we should read it.
Yeah, because, and if we think about taking care of this house, why babies? Because they're really innocent. They are not contaminating. They are not contaminated with all the things that are now contaminating the world. So I think that's also why it's so beautiful to watch and be near a baby. So
yes, and actually it is written here in the book of Luke chapter 18, it says in verse 15, and they also brought infants to him to touch them. But his taught ones, seeing it, rebuked them. But YaHuWaH called them to him and said, let the little children come to me, and do not forbid them, for of such is the reign of Elohim. Truly I say to you, whoever does not receive the reign of Elohim, whoever does not receive the reign of Elohim as a little child, shall certainly not enter into it.
yeah.
And in another place, he was setting a child as an example for the people. So, and this is, I think, in my view, everything pointing to become born again.
Removing things that should not be there. And if sometimes, I don't know, maybe if cleansing is kind of difficult, we have to remember that we have to ask YaHuWaH for his help. We are not going to be able to clean anything, because we were and we are in this world contaminated. So it's going to be him that is completely clean and pure who is going to bring this healing. So
I a bit disagree with you.
no, of course that we have to work with that.
And let me put the same
because
example that
said,
you gave, but let me expand it. Because when we are doing the cleaning department, we are doing it, but we need to use materials. We need to use tools, and in the worst case scenario, we don't have the products, the cleaning products. What we can do, what we can use, water. So we need to do the action of cleaning, but in reality, we're doing the action, but we are not the one providing the cleansing or the cleaning of the house. It's the water the one doing it. So who is the water? The living rivers. The living water is the Ruach of Elohim. But we need to, that's why it's an active participation. We need to clean the house. Clean the house, have the water, and the water is going to do the cleansing. But needs to be working together. If we don't move and we don't produce the action,
nothing is
and the
going
intention, nothing is going to happen. The water will remain in the place it is, but it's not going to go to the different places and different rooms in the house in order to remove all the uncleanness, all the dust and everything that needs to go out in order to have a clean place.
Yeah. So, good.
Okay, let's move on to chapter 20, okay? And it says the following. And Pashhur,
Pashhur.
Pashhur, son of Immer, the priest, who was also chief governor in the house of YaHuWaH, heard that Yirmiyahu prophesied these words. And Pashhur struck Yirmiyahu the prophet, and put him in the stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin, which was by the house of YaHuWaH. And it came to be on the next day that Pashhur brought Yirmiyahu out of the stocks. And Yirmiyahu said to him, YaHuWaH has not called your name Pashhur, but Magor Misaviv. And you want to give the meaning of the names?
Yeah, because that is
Go ahead.
very interesting and it's going to be very tricky. Pashhur means freedom. And Immer, because he was son of Immer speaking.
Okay.
And then
Speaking about freedom.
Speaking about freedom. And the new name that he was going to receive is terror all around. So complete terror.
Okay.
And remember that his name used to be Pashhur, freedom.
Freedom,
So
and
now
now
we are
it's terror.
now we are going to know what is going to be the consequence.
It says the verse 4, For that said YaHuWaH, See, I am making you a fear to yourself and to all your loved ones, and they shall fall by the sword of their enemies, while your eyes see it. And I shall give all Yehuda into the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and he shall exile them to Babel, and strike them with the sword. And I shall give all the wealth of the city, and all its labor, and all its valuables, and all the treasures of the sovereigns of Yehuda, I give into the hand of their enemies, who shall plunder them, seize them, and shall bring them to Babel. And you, Pashhur, and all who dwell in your house, shall go into captivity, and enter into Babel, and there you shall die, and be buried there, you and all your loved ones, to whom you have prophesied falsehood.
And Babel means confusion. So that is interesting that Pashhur, the freedom, was going to go into captivity.
Into captivity.
So his freedom was going to be removed.
So, I think we see here consequences. And we need to be so ready for this type of consequences. That when we are in the midst of people that don't believe in the word of YaHuWaH, and even let me say it differently. Even when we are in the midst of people that believes they follow YaHuWaH, but they don't because they're blind, and we bring the words of YaHuWaH, the truth, being led by the Ruach of Elohim, most probably there will be consequences, like we see here happening with Yirmiyahu. It was the chief governor, it was a priest,
but
it was a prophet as well.
But that's why I had a question, because it says that he was a prophet, it was a priest, but also a chief governor. So he has the two roles somehow.
Most probably. Most probably.
This was the first time that I realized about that.
So we see here Pashhur that, I'm in charge. I'm a priest. I'm in charge as a governor in the house of YaHuWaH. I'm also a prophet. Why I'm saying prophet? Because in the verse 6 it says, to whom you have prophesied falsehood.
It could be kind of an image or maybe a reflection of the anti-Mashiach. Somebody who is going to have the two roles, but is leading to a path that is not the correct one.
True.
And that is the consequences.
That's why, we need to serve him in spirit and in truth. It's both together. And what is the truth? It's in the word. What Yirmiyahu was saying is nothing different. And actually, I forgot to mention this. Part of the consequences of Israel or the house or the Yehuda and Jerusalem to shed the blood of innocence and everything that we were reading in chapter 19 is that they were going to eat the flesh of their own ones. If we go to Torah, this is part of the curses. And the curses were caused because of going astray and not going
disobedience.
and not going in the ways of YaHuWaH by not keeping his commandments and his ways and his Torah. So where we find the truth, and that's is in his word. So this priest, he came here with this attitude of saying, you Yirmiyahu is speaking falsehood. I am a priest. I know the Torah. I am the chief governor in the house of YaHuWaH. And he was striking him. So what is the consequences of following the guidance of the Ruach and speaking the truth of the word of YaHuWaH is persecution. Yahushua said, if they have hated me, they're going to hate you as well. If they have persecuted me, they are going to persecute you as well. But don't be afraid. I have overcome the world. And if he overcame the world, it means that his promise is that we are going to overcome the world as well.
But if we walk in his steps, if we
Correct.
are doing the same things that he did.
So, in my experience, sometimes it's much harder to face this type of person. The ones who knows the word, but they are somehow blind, still blind. And let me put a note in what I said. I think all of us somehow are the blind partially, even us.
Yeah, because we don't know everything.
Yes, our eyes have been opened little by little. We don't know everything. So that's why we always need to be humble and having a teachable heart. But we also know at the same time that we have received some truth that is undeniable, because we see the evidences in the word of YaHuWaH. And those truths that we already have received, maybe another person that they're also knowing for many years and they have studied the word of YaHuWaH, they're unable to see at this point. Those type of people are much harder, as I said, to speak with, because they will have a position like Pashhur, saying, and let's remember that Yirmiyahu was younger. To listen to the children that they are bringing the words and the truth of YaHuWaH. So,
and I think that is the same that happened to Mashiach when he was facing and confronting the Pharisees, for instance, because there were people who was learning the Torah and everything.
And Mashiach was a young man,
he was
30
younger.
years old.
Yeah.
Most probably all the scholars and the religious people were elders. So he faced a very similar situation as we see here in Yirmiyahu. And thank you, Abba. I see here, this is a picture of what happened to Mashiach. When he was taken as a prisoner, they were striking him as well because of blasphemy, they said. And we see here the same happening. It's like, the prophet, the servant, bringing the truth of the word to the religious people of that time, that they believed to know the truth, but actually they were not following the truth. They were persecuting the one that he was bringing light. So we need to prepare our hearts, because we have been talking about this for years already. Is that we see how things are going in the world. We have been experiencing in our own lives a type of persecution. And what's coming to the world is going to be even more harder, much harder. So we should not be afraid of persecution. We should not be afraid of any mocking. We should serve YaHuWaH with having our eyes focused in the treasure, in the what we are going to get at the end. And not only that, the focusing our eyes in Mashiach, what he did and what place he's leading us to. So let's continue. And just one thing, to whom you have prophesied falsehood, and this is something I mentioned at the beginning, I think, as well, is that we need to be so careful with any word that is going on or is being spread out there. We need to be so careful for the so-called prophets of this time, because there are many prophets that are calling themselves prophet in this time. and I don't want to deny that the YaHuWaH can raise prophets.
And he's going to
Yes.
to communicate things through them.
But how we need to be able to learn how to discern the truth from the lie, from the false, because as it is written here, there are people that being used as false prophets. And it's so curious that this morning when I opened the scripture to read, I opened it up in the book of Divrei Hayamim Chronicles, and it's exactly in the story of the king Ahaz, I think, with Yehoshaphat, when Yehoshaphat went to help Ahaz to go into battle with Aram. And is the story of this prophet Michayahu that was brought by the king of Israel, because everybody else, all the prophets were saying, no, go king, you are going to win this battle because YaHuWaH is with you. And everybody, all the prophets were reciting the same thing. And Yehoshaphat was the one asking, but there is no prophet of YaHuWaH here. And the only one was Michayahu.
And he was saying
all the contrary. And he went further to say, speaking of what happened there in the Shamayim, and how spirit was allowed from YaHuWaH to come
and speak
falsehood through the mouths of the prophets.
Yeah.
And even though that they were speaking and prophesying in the name of YaHuWaH, it was a false prophecy.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes, I think myself, YaHuWaH is allowing these kind of things, we can be deceived too.
Yeah.
So how we avoid how we protect ourselves on the false, on the deception. Even in the book of Thessalonians, it says that the Elohim is allowing a spirit of falsehood to come into those that doesn't love him. Yeah. Doesn't want to hear it and follow the truth. I don't remember exactly the passage, but you know what passage I'm talking about. So how we avoid this thing?
Because
what do you think?
I think that everything that we are going to hear, it should be aligned to the word. It cannot be a contradiction. It cannot be against his own commandments. It cannot be against about what he has been teaching us. So that's how we can discern if it's something that is false or is truth. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is the two-edged sword somehow. But the first thing is here, if we are well fed,
we are going to recognize if it's something that is there or
with
not.
The commandments, with Torah, if it's here or not. And not only that, we need to develop this
discernment,
closeness with the Ruach of Elohim in order to be able to discern how to allow the Ruach to help us during those times to discern what is true and what is false. And it's something that nobody can teach us. Only him.
But
maybe somebody external can guide us, but we are going to be the only ones that are going to be able to learn. Is us, within us. Go ahead.
No, that is something very strange, because I remember when I started in this path, something that really caught my attention, it was that at one point he allowed me to see when people were lying. When and before, well, it should be a very big lie in order to recognize it. But now it's like it could be something very tiny, and it's like popping up, like it's in front of our eyes, like with red letters. No, 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 that's not true. So he's doing that, and he was given that also to Mashiach. When Mashiach was discerning the thought, he was even like reading the minds of everybody. So like he's giving us that, so we can also be guided through his ruach to the truth.
Sure. So let's continue. You know, this part of the chapter is a prayer of YaHuWaH,
Yeah.
and you know, it's so beautiful to see his prayer, because we can understand that he was suffering,
Yeah.
and I think we can see sometimes ourselves reflected on those words. So let's read it. It says, "O YaHuWaH, you enticed me, and I was enticed. You are stronger than I, and have prevailed. I have been ridiculed all day long. Everyone mocks me. For when I speak, I cry out, proclaiming violence and ruin, because the word of YaHuWaH was made to me a reproach and a derision daily. Whenever I said, 'Let me not mention him, not speaking his name again,' it was in my heart like a burning fire shut up in my bones, and I became weary of holding it back, and was helpless. For I heard many mocking, fear on every side, expose, they say. Yes, let us expose him. All my friends watched for my stumbling, saying, 'He might be lured away,' so that we prevailed against him and take our revenge on him. But YaHuWaH is with me like a mighty, awesome one. Therefore my persecutors shall stumble and not prevail. They shall be greatly ashamed, for they have not acted wisely. An everlasting reproach never to be forgotten. But, O YaHuWaH Sebaot, trying the righteous, and seeing the kidneys and heart, let me see your vengeance on them, for I have revealed my cause to you. Sing to YaHuWaH praise, YaHuWaH, for he has delivered the being of the poor from the hand of the evil ones. Cursed be the day in which I was born. Let the day not be blessed in which my mother bore me. Let the man be cursed who brought news to my father, saying, 'A male child has been born to you,' making him very glad. And let that man be like the cities which YaHuWaH overthrew, and repented not. Let him hear the cry in the morning, and the shouting at noon, because I was not slain from the womb, so that my mother should have been my burial site, and her womb forever great. Why did I come forth from the womb to see toil and sorrow, and spend my days in shame?" You know, now that I'm reading this the second time, I remember that Job
Yeah.
lifted up a similar prayer, cursing the day that he was born. And I just cannot imagine the suffering that YaHuWaH was going through. But now understanding Job and everything that he had to face by his family being removed, his children being killed or dead,
It
his
was
own
just
wife
suffering.
going away from him, his friends talking to him all the time, and suffering also in his flesh. He's suffering all the time. Suffering. And to that point of desperation that I don't want to live anymore. who did something similar somehow is Moshe. Kill me. I cannot stand this anymore. It's too such a burden for me. So, in the way that I see it here is that speak a lot that first is not an easy path. And as I said in the past, it's not because the path is difficult. It's not because the way is difficult. The surrounding make it difficult. Because it's not difficult in itself, but we will face a lot of persecution, mocking, everything that is being described here. And I think it's going to be on different extent and different angles in different manifestations. My day yesterday was complicated,
Wow, yeah.
And I was feeling maybe not at the same level as YaHuWaH was saying, but I was not feeling good.
At one point I thought that you were feeling like him. Yeah.
Maybe. So, we can be triggered in
By
different
some
ways, in
environment.
different situations, and even by close people. So I think here we see an example of what we have to do, an example of that when we are feeling ourselves in this way. And this is going to be interesting now that I see it. We need to spell it out. We need to speak it out. We need to pray about. Do you imagine YaHuWaH thinking in this prayer? Or do you imagine him shouting this prayer maybe? Maybe not shouting, but speaking out loud.
Yeah.
And you remember what we studied 2 years ago about the senses and the inner being. I think when we are facing this type of situation, we need to go to YaHuWaH in the same way that we see YaHuWaH doing it, in the same way that we see Job doing it, in the same way that we see Moshe doing it, in the same way that we see Mashiach doing it in the moment of his suffering. If it's possible to pass this cup from me, please do it, but your will be done. So to speak up in our suffering, that will bring restoration somehow to our hearts. If we are keeping it within us, that will begin accumulating, and YaHuWaH is giving us this amazing opportunity and an amazing door to go to him in the midst of suffering and to pour out our hearts to him, even though that he knows everything. He's saying, talk to me. Talk to me.
I am your counselor. I am your everything. Your doctor, your friend.
Yes. And we tend to forget, I tend to forget when I'm going through situations, difficult situations. I put myself here and containing everything and trying to calm myself down. But in reality, what we have to do is to go to our closet, close the door, and to pray to our Father.
He will bring peace back.
And to speak. And again, this is so important, is to speak, is to use our voice. He wants to listen to our voices. He sees our thoughts. He sees everything in us. But he wants us to speak. Because that's why he gave us a voice. And then there is a more deep secret on that. And it's related to the frequencies, the music, and everything else.
And I think that since he can see and perceive our thoughts and see our hearts, he wants to know if what we are telling, what we are trying to communicate is the same. If we are really ahead, if we are honest with our thinking and with our communication with him.
Yes, so I think we need to use this in the way that I can describe is a tool, it's a weapon in order to get the restoration we need in the time of suffering. And if we do that, we are going to be under the coverage of YaHuWaH, and we are going to be protected by him. And as I saw the comment from Karen here, I also agree, when we are going through difficulties, it's a type of sign. And it could be a sign, in this case, if we look at it in the case of Yirmiyahu, is that it's a sign that we are following the path of YaHuWaH. We are serving him. We are bringing his truth. Because everybody else most probably is not suffering the same things. Pashhur was not suffering. He was in a position of power.
Maybe
and responsibilities.
they are adapting some things in order not to be bothered by that kind of things. They were maybe sometimes I think about this current society, that a lot of people is accepting things just not to be uncomfortable from the treatment that they can receive from their peers, instead of the treatment that we are going to receive from our Abba.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned this already in the previous portions, but one thing, important thing, and it's been part of our conversations, is that as an adult, we have responsibilities, and I think we are facing today in this world a crisis of adulthood. Is that people is not taking responsibilities; they're acting like children, and I think all of us are facing maybe a similar situation in different aspects of life. What we see here in Jeremiah, even being a younger person, is that he took the responsibility, what he was commanded to do, what he was appointed to do. And that will have consequences, most probably. Being in a leadership position is not easy. Nobody wants to be a leader, because being a leader is going to put you in the spot. You're going to be exposed. Everybody is going to look to you, and most of the times, everybody is going to look for you to fail, or to what are going to be the mistakes you are going to make. So
Sorry.
So, but the point is that because of that reason and the consequence, people are not taking the leadership role. And this is exactly happening now in these times when we talk about the kingdom and the word. We are being commanded to take the leadership position. You know, we are a nation of kings and priests. Kings are leaders, priests are leaders. So we need to, and that's why we are being called not to be afraid, even though the consequences, because he is going to be the one who is going to fight for us, and he is going to be the one who is going to protect us. So it should not be an excuse for us that maybe we're going to face persecution, an excuse not to take the responsibility we are being called for. We need to take the role. Again, we talk about not being babies, except one here in the chat. The rest, we are grown up in the kingdom. We need to take our responsibilities. We need to serve. We need to go. We need to listen what YaHuWaH is guiding us to do in his service. If not, we are not taking the role and we are not taking the responsibility. And I think it's time for us to take that role. I think it's time for us to be accountable of what it means to be a child of Elohim. To be accountable, to be a witness, a true witness of the kingdom of YaHuWaH. To be accountable and responsible to move forward and to fulfill the role that YaHuWaH has appointed to each one of us. And the common role is to bring light into this world. And I think let's remember, Yirmiyahu is a perfect example, and the most perfect example of all
Is YaHuWaH.
is Yahushua, because he endured until the end, and we saw the recompense that he got is basically resurrection in an immortal body, showing us that this is our destination, is the kingdom of Elohim. It's been an interesting portion,
Yeah.
many things.
Yeah.
Something else you want to add before we finish?
When you were saying about YaHuWaH, he has to sacrifice his own life without the need of doing it. But he did that because of love, and the recompense was eternal life, was not the temporary one.
Correct.
And then also maybe we have, and he's warning at the end time, he's saying, those who are wanting to preserve their life, they're going to lose it. So work for the life that is eternal, the one that you're not going to lose. So I was thinking about that maybe we need to sacrifice some things that they're just temporary in order to have them, but in the eternal mode. So
It's good. Looking into the natural to understand the spiritual.
yeah.
Good. It's been a blessing always, like every Shabbat, to have this opportunity to share these portions with you. We hope this been a blessing in the same way that it's been a blessing to the two of us.
Yeah.
And we pray to YaHuWaH that we are going to be able to see each other in next Shabbat
Yeah.
to continue with the next portion. Let's
Yeah.
see what
How he do it.
the Ruach is bringing to our hearts.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like the video so
Maybe
this
somebody
video is
else.
going to go to more people and these messages are going to reach more hearts. And let's keep prayer for each one of this group,
Yeah.
this flock,
And
and for the people of YaHuWaH all over the places.
yeah, those who are suffering maybe some trials in these times, for the people who are being impacted because of our human condition in the end times, and that we can be strong and courageous. And those who are being tested, maybe in the deepest situation, and the emotion in the being temporarily separated by their dear ones, their beloved ones, and those who are suffering because they don't have freedom maybe at this time,
Yes.
and those who are dealing with confusion, like being in Babel, so they can have open eyes with the hand of Yahushua and receive what he was offering. He was offering his life, so we can be safe and we can gain that new life.
Good. So before I forget, it's a blessing to see you, Taras, here. That we saw you in the chat, and we have been thinking on you, and we are blessed that YaHuWaH is sustaining you. And I saw also that they were asking for prayers for Camila, that she is not here because she has to fly because a family member passed away. So let's keep our sister Camila in our prayers, and to everyone here in this family. Even those that we don't know, that YaHuWaH is protecting us, and he is bringing his love in our hearts, restoration of the heart, so we are being echad in him through Mashiach. So thank you so much once again. YaHuWaH be with you all, and Shabbat Shalom. See you next Shabbat.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Shabbat Shalom.
אני כל כך אוהב אותך. כל כך עשיר באהבה, כל כך נדיב בלי לחפש סיבה, כל כך שונה והוא אחד, בלי לנסות הוא מרגש אותי. כל כך עשיר באהבה, כל כך נדיב בלי לחפש סיבה, כל כך שונה והוא אחד, בלי לנסות הוא מרגש אותי. את הכי טוב אתן לך, את המקום הראשון אשמור לך, כי אין אחד ששווה יותר ממך. אני כל כך אוהב אותך. לא ממהר, כי יש לו זמן, תמיד מוכן לבדות הנה לאדם, לא מתעייף מאף אחד, לי לא ימהר לברך אותך. לא ממהר, כי יש לו זמן, תמיד מוכן לבדות הנה לאדם, לא מתעייף מאף אחד, לי לא ימאס לברך אותך. את הכי טוב אתן לך, את המקום הראשון אשמור לך, כי אין אחד ששווה יותר ממך. אני כל כך אוהב אותך. את הכי טוב אתן לך, את המקום הראשון אשמור לך, כי אין אחד ששווה יותר ממך. אני כל כך אוהב אותך. ב100% מגיע לך מה שמגיע לך, לא פחות מ100% מגיע לך.